Check, baby, check, baby, check. 1, 2. Audio check. Good morning, everybody. Just getting started here. Give us a minute or so to get going. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show here. Just getting started here. Can't figure out why my counter down there counts past 0. It should stop at 0. Anyway, I had that timed pretty well there. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let's put those images back up. Turn that off. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to DYOR Live here on the DYOR Media Network. My name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking, here in the digital media world. So glad to be hosting another episode of this great show we call DYOR Live here on this great network called DYOR Media with my co-host, Mr. Pedro Garcia, the crypto chart analyst. Pedro, welcome to the show. Hope you had a great weekend. And we'll be up and talking about BTC in just a moment. It is, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? It is December 22nd, 2025, 3 days till Christmas. 3 days to Christmas, 10 days to the new year, and the end of the monthly candle, and the end of the yearly candle, which I have never done before. I've never done a yearly candle close. So we'll be watching that. If you all recall, the yearly pattern has formed into one nice Fibonacci 786 retracement, which I just discovered on my own the other day. But for those of you watching us that are new to the show, thanks for joining us, especially you Reddit community people. Thanks a lot. My name is Tom, as I said, otherwise known as Striking. My co-host, Mr. Pedro Garcia, the crypto chart analyst, is with us here. We're a live TV show, broadcast all over the place, every day, 12 to 2 p.m., roughly around there. But today we're going to end at 1:30 because I got a meeting at 1:30 that I got to go to. And this is our last show before Christmas. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. That is right. Anyway, what's going on at the beginning of the show, as we always like to point out the headlines of the day. The headlines of the day, well, Saylor buys more, bought another $1 billion in the past week. But more importantly, you know, that's like, okay, it buys $1 billion a lot. More importantly, he announced that they're keeping a $2 billion reserve in cash, in USD cash at the company. And Strategy announced that they had $2 billion in cash, just sitting there just in case. You know, Pedro and I have been talking about the market potentially going down a little bit here. Not necessarily in the right now, but been talking about it potentially going down. The people at MicroStrategy seem to be thinking the same thing. And I said, we might need to sit on some cash for a little bit until this thing rebounds. Also, lastly, it's the end of the year in DC. The lobbyists are freaking out. I mentioned this the other day. They're trying to update the IRS rules and regulations that treat staking and mining and all that as income as soon as you receive the coins, not when you sell them. Like when you stake it and you're in interest, the IRS wants you to pay right away on that. But you have to pay tax on something you didn't sell. So that violates a lot of the general rules of taxation. lobbyists are trying to change that for the end of the year. I don't know if they're going to get it done. It's going to be really, really, really hard to get that done when there's nobody in Washington, D.C. at all. But anyway, they have till January 1st to do that before the new IRS regulations come in to play. And as I said before, the banking lobby is trying to prevent everybody from paying interest or yield on stable coins. And they've got only a few days left to do that. I don't think anyone's going to get anything done in that time period. No. Anyway, as you can see, Bitcoin is still trading in this this zone here, as I mentioned on the blurb of the description, Pedro. When you look at the longer time frames, it looks just to be one past since November, just one big kind of consolidation area between, in the mid 80s to the low 90s, just bouncing back and forth. This particular week is one of the lowest liquidity weeks in the year because everyone's effing off for Christmas or whatever your holidays are. This week, because half the world takes this week off, the other half of the world goes, well, we might as well take the time off too. So not a lot going on. But that means market traders, day traders, beware. If you're new out there, understand that this week is really tough to really follow your own rules, because without all that monies from London and New York in the markets all the time, obviously the market makers and manipulators, I'm sure there's very few manipulators in the Bitcoin world, so very few of them have a greater chance at moving the price around a lot. Anyway, Pedro, what the heck is going on with you, and what the heck is going on with BTC?
That is a great question. We're watching BTC actually put a nice little. Again, we talked about I expected this to pull back and go down, and we're actually watching it stay in this. I'm going to term, because you, my friend, have termed it. And I think it's a good, the idiot box, right?
The idiot box. I give it credit to Master Friend, the Grandmaster Friend on Twitter. That's who I give it credit to. You
can see here.
But I love using it.
Yeah, it's it's actually really good. But also, so we're going to point this out here. And the fact is that we didn't go down this weekend. And we really should have. So, in all honesty, we should have went down. So it's actually a good sign that we might be holding ground. I thought we were going to get down to that 75 area, the 75, 74 area. But in all honesty, during Christmas, we're watching it just kind of saddle right in this level here, between that 89 and 83, 84-ish area. And that's actually a good sign that basically that BTC is finding potentially support there. And this is where we may see it we may see the yearly candle drop off here, which my hope is that we see the drop off in January and February, right? Where we see it go down. And if we can see a 10,000, like a 10, 15,000 point drop here coming from, if we see it go up just a little, right? On Friday, because in the new year, it will be on Friday. The first, right? The first is the first Thursday? The first is Thursday. And then the second is Friday. And so you can see here that if we hit this area here, boom, we pop it, right? We go up, then come down. We tap in this lower level here, that 75. And that's a good 20,000 point drop potentially, is what I would love to see, right? And then we consolidate here into maybe what we would see on Friday, or excuse me, for the first couple months, where we just consolidate into that 80,000, 70,000 area, kind of like what we're seeing here. And then we see it pop up, continue up. I think that's a good plan. That I think if I am an institution and I know that there's a lot of stops in between the 75 area, right below that, it's a great area to take those stops and then push it back up. So again, that's really kind of what I'm expecting. Like I said, I expected this weekend to see a bit of a sell-off, and we didn't. And so that's a good sign of, they're just putting in their positions. You can see here, and this was, and the catalyst was the fact that we saw the sellers come in, right? Look, here's the sellers, right? You can see here the seller wicks. So it was screaming, they want to drop this. And so I said, guys, expect it. I was sure 75 was going to be coming this weekend. And just to see it consolidate and chill out right here was one of those things I was like, what do you think, right? And so this is where, if this is where they're going to plant their stake. And the fact is that, you know, sailors sitting there saying we're going to stay in cash is a good sign of maybe like they know, like institutions are like, all right, we can't keep playing him, so they're going to, you know, because here's the thing: every time he buys, he always tops off, right? Like that's like his MO. I will always buy the top, is what he said. And I was like, yeah, that's dumb.
Because there's always a new top for him. That's right. It's always keeps going up.
So it's one of those moments that I'm like, if he's gonna come in and say, yeah, we're gonna go cash, and maybe the institutions are going like, all right, maybe he's tired of getting dunked on, and so this might be kind of like that line in the sand that simply says, from a trading standpoint, institutions are going, okay, we can go in, we can stop out people around that 75, 74 area, maybe 67, but potentially like this area is a good area, right? I was talking to my trader coach, and he still believes that the market potentially could, or BTC is going to hit that 60 low 64 area, potentially 54 area, and the man is really good at calling the markets. So I'm a little hesitant on, he's better than me, I'll put it like that. I mean, like, you guys want to, he's phenomenal. So I mean, I'm a good trader. He and I'm with a bunch of good traders, and this man is the chief of the traders. So I'm just throwing that out there. And so it's like, I want to be hesitant to sit there and say, calling that lower part, but he's been wrong, right? He's more right than wrong majority of the time. So I'm like, I don't think I think the institutions will hold this. I do think it. But it all just depends on what we watch over the next week, right? We stay in the city of box, which pretty much looks like what we're going to do. Kind of going between this part right here. I would say yes. Then we see it go up a little, beginning of the year, come down, boom, tap this area, like again, boom, 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 and go up.
What area is this down at the tap level? I can't read that. 75?
That's that 75 area right here. Let me go ahead and move this right here. It's like boom, we see that happen, come back down, boom, pop, come in, and hopefully all the way up. And again, we might see this consolidation area for about 2 months here, playing so they can put it in and then push it back up. And so let's show the end of the year. Wait, hold on
1 second here. Let's talk about the liquidity for a little bit here. Usually when we have the show here at this time of the day, the volume, the trading volume over there on the great graphics machine shows between 60 and 90 billion dollars. That's kind of the general range. If it's normal candles, it's about 60 billion in the past 24 hours. And if there's some price movement, it shows 90 billion with big price swings showing 100 plus billion and that type of stuff. And one day in the past couple of months, there was like a $200 billion day. It was nuts. But today, 35 billion, 36 billion, 36 billion, about half the low of the, I don't even know what the right mathematical term is, of the range.
Squishy.
It's squishy. It's squishy.
It's squishy.
The market is very squishy. It's moisty.
Moisty.
For you Canadians out there, I hope you know what I'm referring to. It's moist. Who's now moisting Katy Perry?
Is he really? Is he with Katy Perry now?
Mrs. Striking over here is throwing up in her mouth. Yes, they were seen canoodling on the deck of a yacht. He was shirtless like Putin.
Oh man, bro. But he's like her dad, right? He's like her dad's age?
No, they're not that. I mean, Katy Perry's older than you think. She's been around a lot longer. And Justin is I don't know,
younger than.
He's probably, how old's Trudeau now? 50? Maybe late? I don't know. Whatever. 52. He's younger than me. That's all I know.
Yep.
Younger than me. Yeah. Well,
So-
that was the side tangent.
Squishy. Yeah, squishy hair. So it's interesting. So this is where, like, during these time periods when we have low volatility, obviously we're coming into the Christmas time, right? And so we always talk about how Christmas time, the market kind of dies off with volume. People are sitting there. They are not necessarily looking to trade. They're finishing off many of their own positions. They're getting out of positions, and so the new year is going to happen, and this is where you typically will see either a push up or a drop, right? At the beginning of the year, a slight push, then drop, or a slight drop, then push. But in that same sense is what we're seeing, and rightly so. Like if you go back and look at other Christmases, right? Other Christmases are the same way. That we see volume drop off. You can see here.
Two Christmases.
Oh, that's funny. You can see here. See
Talladega Nights, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, I got you. I'm trying. I am so trying to stay on focus here. It's so hard.
it's that time of year. I'm drinking tea right now, but I really wish it was some kind of Christmas concoction, some, peppermint Kahlua or something like that with a little bit of brandy in it.
Absolutely. So you can see here that we're watching, like, here's December 22nd, right? Or excuse me, December, here you are. You can
Draw
see
it. I can't see where your mouse is.
Oh, here we go. You can see right here on the 21st down to the 25th, right? Then you see volume kind of come in, but it doesn't pick up until after the first of the year, right? Here's the first of the year right here, and you can see it pick up. But during this week to 2 week here, it's just dead. That was 23. And the same says, look at 24 here. Boop. Right in. Same thing, right? Like you can see here during the first this 2 week period, right?
Dead Ola.
Yeah, it's just dead, right? Here's the average volume. You can see it kind of drops in here, boom, and then right after 2024 pop, right? Look at the volume pick back up, comes in, we see it make a direction. So this week and next week typically kind of dead in the volume wise. But so with that said, as a trade, if you're going to be trading these, you want to give more space for your stops majority of the time, because they're going to be stop hunting, because there's not as much what's the word I want to use? You got to make sure that you have a real trend. They're going to be stop hunting because there's not enough liquidity in the market. So they're going to come through and they're going to try to take that stop from you. So be smart. Don't overtrade. Go in. If you have a bad day, do not blow up your account. Just understand that this is the 2 weeks that it's just not going to happen. You're not going to see much trading. Everybody's either in the Hamptons, they're in Switzerland, they are out there. Some of them are on the Cayman Islands, the single ones that are out there just being stupid. Like that 23, 24-year-old trader, right? Where he's just like, nah, bro, it's Christmas time. I don't want to spend time with my family. I'm going to go and be stupid. And it goes,
no, bro, I'm going to head to Ibiza and do all those fun things there.
They're going to just be dumb. And they look back and laugh and go, man, I shouldn't have done that. I should have just got married and had kids. Really what you should do, because that's where the real fulfillment happens. Okay, so next, you guys can see here that my biggest thing is I'm looking at is from the next maybe week or two, it's just I'm just going to expect it to kind of play in this area here. We have that top area, which is going to be that 93 to 91. The other one's going to be that 84 to 83 area. Play within it. We come down to those lower areas, look for liquidity to get stopped, and then you'll see the trend start to push back up to that higher area there. And there you go. That's it in a nutshell for that. You want to go into
Pedro,
Yep, go ahead.
Well, hold on. Let's take a break and do a. I was just going to do an ad read, but we need a few more shares, as they say. Right. Why don't we take a minute to talk to the crowd here, see who's in the audience today?
Yes, sir.
Find out what's going on. Crypto Unicorns was the first poster today. Can you believe it? Crypto Unicorns, you're always seemingly there first, and I just can't figure out why. You're just right on top of things.
He's always on point here. Always, man.
Really Jason, who I believe is Mr. Jason Spurgis, says another bullish show coming. DYOR Media, calling it like it is. Thank you very much. Ka-ching in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Ka-ching, all the way from Minnesota, the great communist state of Minnesota, and apparently one of the most wealthy groups of immigrants in the history of the earth, claiming to be poor. They took $9 billion from the federal government in Minnesota, spread it amongst the community of immigrants there and just sucked everyone dry. Pedro, they had signed up so many people for the program, they had to go to a website that generates random names.
Really?
That's how much the fraud was. They were going to a website that you can generate random names and you can pick your ethnicity and all that, whatever. And it'll even make AI profiles and stuff like that for them. So, PTC says it's so embarrassing. Now, did anyone think? And say when all of a sudden there's 200,000. I'm not going to mention anything because I'm going to try and stay neutral for the YouTube algorithm today. Did anyone think that when they all came to one spot, there was a reason? Like they had to come there. They had to come there, and handlers were bringing them over. There were people, bringing them over. And nobody in the U.S. government or the Minnesota government went, "Hey, this seems odd. They're all going to one place. Wonder what's attracting them there." All they had to do was like Google search because they were like companies were advertising. We'll import you from that country over to Minnesota. All right, enough of that. Fire Chicken says, "What's up, DYOR?" Well, let's finish the comments, then we can talk other stuff. What's up, DYOR Live? Fire Chicken in the house. Thanks for joining us, Chuck. Pedro, Fire Chicken did us a solid the other day. First donation to the new Rumble crypto wallet. $5 whole, and we get to keep all of it. No, nothing gets shared. Even Rumble says we don't want part of it. We just want you guys to do better.
Look at that. And, that is love.
And he used that the feature right there, right below our name. If you're watching on the desktop, it's over there. It says a tip jar, and it goes to crypto wallets. You can send Tether Gold, Bitcoin, and they're going to be rolling out some other ones as they grow the program. But they focus on Tether and Bitcoin because, Bitcoin because the Rumble owners are Bitcoin people, but Tether because Tether's a massive investor in Rumble. In fact, it's a good thing they are. Rumble just released their earnings, and it's not good. Losing money. Anyway, but they're building up a big conglomerate to bring in monies from all different types of things. So,
well, here's a question that I have for them. That actually kind of worried me because, they are now being mandated to buy treasuries, right? Whereas before they could go through and buy a bunch of gold, a bunch of assets that would give them, income coming in, right? Like that was the whole entire point that I thought was really interesting and this is what we talked about almost 2 years ago, probably, when was it? About a year and a half ago, we talked about this. That it was so interesting that, I was elucidating, Mr. Biden was still in office. And I said, for them to actually help stabilize the U.S. debt, they need to go through, and America needs to go to stable coins, and from stable coins, really propel that to the rest of the world. And we talked about how this would actually enable America to basically export our debt. Not our debt, export the US dollar to the rest of the world. And I also talked about how it might not be a good thing too far, because the reality is that means that also China and other nations could buy huge amounts of dollars and potentially kind of throw off a lot of what actually happens by flooding the market with sell positions and dropping, USDT, USDC. But in the same sense, it was not an equivalent to the US dollar, because I talked about how them being able to buy gold, other assets that produce income, actually sustains that US dollar equivalent. Much like how we've seen in the past when we actually had the US dollar buy gold. The fact is that what happened with the Genius Act, with the Stablecoin Act, and a few other acts that are now coming about, it's weakening those stable coins just simply because they have to now buy, by law, treasuries. Now, again, we are exporting our debt, and we're circumventing the, as of right now, it's, I think it's like 8%, I forget exactly how much, but we don't have to go to the Fed.
Right.
And we're able to send that money to we're able to get other countries to buy U.S. Treasury to buy crypto. My biggest concern is this. I know it's a lot to kind of talk about before my main point here, but the main point is this, is that if they keep being mandated to having to buy treasuries and they're not getting the yield that they need to, it could throw things off. So it's now like, it's getting hard because they are used to making cash hand over fist, and
literally just throwing it on them.
Yeah. And now it's harder because now they are being constrained. Part of me says it's a good thing, but also a bad thing. So I personally think that we're going to see additional USD equivalents outside of the United States that potentially could be sister companies and sister companies outside that will allow USDT, USDC to funnel more money into the market. And so, but again, these companies, I feel as if they're going to go through and sustain really what treasury, or not treasuries, but what stable coins originally were supposed to be for, right? Was a US dollar equivalent, but backed by real assets. And so it's going to be really interesting as we move forward. So we're going to talk about a lot of that at the beginning of the year. I absolutely loved Tom Bailu's deep dive, not deep dive, but he had an economist that was one of the top economists to Reagan. And he was, it was really interesting to see Tom Bailu grill this guy, because this guy's really big boss as a guy. And to watch what is actually happening there. I just wish that I could have asked Tom Bailu to ask these questions in addition to it. And I know he's a smart guy. I just don't think he understands fully what stablecoins are about. And sooner or later he's going to really get it. And then when he brings on these conversation or these speakers, it's going to be really interesting to see him really grill these guys, because he really lays into and asks real fundamental questions. So I'm really looking forward to see, as he starts to push this stuff, if we could actually see a US dollar equivalent being birthed outside of the US dollar, but an individual, not communist. Why am I saying communist? Free market capital movements, right? And basically kind of shore up the dollar potentially. So the next logical step for his brain will be to think about it this way. And so I look forward to him really start to grill other people. And man, I wish I could, I am part of his community. I need to sit there and start throwing ideas his way so that he can kind of help speed up his thought process here.
Well, his thought process is not slow. I mean,
I love it. Yeah,
I'm not saying good.
Yeah, but sometimes I feel, because he is very binary in his thought processy, he, like I've told you guys, like many times, I may be slower, but it's because I'm dealing with more variables in my thought processy, right? Like I try to look at 5 variables at least, and build them off, and then through that see the similarities within each variable that I'm looking at, and then put together and see, okay, this is where we're going to see things. And granted, I also have to sit there and say that is God Almighty who helps my brain, and I see things kind of forward like that, right? Like, thank you, Holy Spirit. But in that same sense, Bailu is very binary. So he'll run a thought, and he's got a very keen eye of seeing like reality. Sometimes he just doesn't see things in its full sense, what potentially could happen. And so I just need to sit there. I honestly need to get more into that community and say, hey, but what about this, this, and this? And what about this and this and this? And then literally have them push back and kind of help. Well, I would sit there and say, that's not common sense, bro. I mean, I agree with that. That could happen. But that most likely is not going to happen. And, and so, fingers crossed, hopefully me challenging him will be kind of good. I'm glad I actually just thought about that. I didn't even put that together. Anyways, so my friend, one of the things I think is really interesting also from a news standpoint, right, was literally what's actually happening in Europe. Excuse me. I'm burping right now.
Oh, Pedro, before we get on to the next topic, while we were talking about the backing of Tether, one of the things that the Congress said not to do was we don't want your stablecoin invested in Bitcoin or gold because of the volatility issue in it. And the first bunch of us were like, oh, that's ridiculous, blah, 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 blah. I said, gold, you can't get better than gold. And Bitcoin, oh my God, you can't get better than Bitcoin. And in that period of time, Bitcoin is devalued by 40%, and gold has increased in value by almost 30% since they passed the Genius Act. And so while they offset each other, if Tether's holding the same amount, makes no difference. But if they both go in the same direction, it's a lot. And I got the Pax Gold price up there, 44.51 on Pax Gold on the crypto. I mean, new highs for gold. Big deal indeed. But Pedro, as you always say, and as the charts always say, what goes up must come down. So if Tether right now were to start the new year and say, all right, we're going to have lots of gold here because it's it's gold, and then it has a 25% pullback, or not even 20, 15% in the stablecoin market is big. It's a big lot. Like, let's assume Tether has 60% of their value in stablecoin or in treasuries and cash, or 80%, whatever. That leaves a lot of room for a lot of gold, a few $1 billion worth of gold. And that could go down by 25%. Bitcoin could go down another 15%, 20%. And suddenly you have a pegging problem. And so the U.S. regulators, well, normally I give them a lot of shit. They did a good job in saying if you're going to operate in the States, you need to. They said we're not going to forever ban that stuff. They said let's start calmly and smoothly and ease into this, and that was a good plan. And now gold is pumping like crazy. Silver's pumping like crazy now. Another high on silver today. Nuts, I say. Oh, you faded out, Pedro. All right, ladies and gentlemen, while Pedro is fixing his audio, I'm going to take the time to do what I do and read an ad. And for those of you just tuned in, stick around. I have fun reading the ads and all that. And you'll enjoy my variety show take to them.
Hey, can you hear me now?
I can, Pedro. We're going to just read it. While we have the viewers, I'm going to read an ad real quick.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, I like doing this one. Pedro, I'm going to take you off for this. Let's get that. And if you know why I'm holding my cup of coffee during this, which my green screen is greening out today for some reason. Oh, have you still not tried 1775 coffee? Well, now is your shot. Look, the 1775 starter kit, they only made 1,000 units. I suspect they made a few more because they've been selling pretty well, at least according to our viewers that have been buying it. You're going to get a couple of things when you buy this starter pack with them. You're going to get 3 things. You're going to get the bold dark roast that hits hard. You're going to get the smooth medium roast. You're going to get the Vitality Mushroom Coffee for clean energy and laser focus. No crash. No. All of this coffee is single origin, small batch, toxin free, and mold free. Plus, you're also getting my favorite part, a gold spoon clip, because freedom isn't served with plastic. No. You're getting a frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's opinions. I just saw my mother-in-law recently, but we agree on political opinions, so there's nothing to argue about there. You're also going to get a black 1775 tumbler, getting $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up right here on this channel, wondering, is it actually worth it? It is. So go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something, just like we do here. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a QR code over here on this side of the screen. Put your cell phone up to that and pop that QR code. Put your eyeballs on our advertisers. Make them happy. Just visit them. It makes them happy if you just visit them because it gives them the opportunity to sell you. And they realize that our audience is not bots. They're real people that go and click and do things. Especially if you do it from your phone while you're watching on your TV because that gives it 2 points and say, hey, this is a real person. Anyway, if you're watching on your cell phone or your tablet, there in the chat, there's a link that says learn more. And if you're watching on the replay, first of all, thank you very much for doing so. And second of all, there's a description, the link to 1775 Coffee. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks to 1775 Coffee for sponsoring this segment of DYOR Live. See, you guys, I told you I had fun with that. Always enjoy reading the ads, as they say. Thanks to everyone watching out there. Pedro, I forgot to launch the YouTube comments, and our good old friend Jesus, our Peruvian friend.
I love him. I love you. I don't care.
Launched a ferocious amount of comments here, and I missed all of them. But anyway, he says, Merry Christmas, favorite show. All this kind of great stuff. So thank you, Jesus. If you want to retype those, I'll be able to put them on screen, but I can't. I can't go back and get history from it.
Well, he is one of my favorite shows as well.
He's his own show. Space Cat's in the house. Is finally able to sign in. The first time it's worked for me. Thank you very much, Mr. Space Cat. And you know, technically Rumble is from Toronto, and you're in Toronto. So they're probably... You know, you were having some kind of like they thought your IP address was bad or something like that. Finally, someone must have said, "Hey, this dude's down the street, man. Let's let him in." Or the gym that you listened to us from, their Wi-Fi had been hacked and their IP had been marked as spamola. Maybe one day when you buy coffee, you'll get coffee coin with it. Oh, there's the shill of the day. The shill. Nice. I wish I had some music for that. For dun 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 dun. Shill of the day. Space Cat shilling the coffee coin. As always, ladies and gentlemen, what our viewers talk about may not represent what Pedro and I or DYOR Media represents. Do your own research. But Space Cat is a longtime friend of the show. Go if you want to follow up with him directly. Let him sell you on his thing, but do your own research. And I am going to take this opportunity to run the banner.
To run. There you go. That's the thing.
This is an educational video. We know of no other beer produced by any brewer which costs so much to brew and age. Our exclusive Beechwood aging process produces a taste, a smoothness, and drinkability you'll find in no other beer at any price. Oops, that was the Budweiser label, not the financial get out of jail thing. How many people in the audience can recite the Budweiser label? I can.
There you go.
One of my long time skills, which I was forced to learn rushing my fraternity.
It's actually really impressive how good you are at
This is the famous Budweiser beer. We know of no other brand produced by any other brewer. Oh wait, the algorithms can be like, they're promoting beer. Oh my gosh, YouTube's gonna be like, YouTube already hates us. Not gonna give them another reason to.
You know what though? They do love us. We're like that redheaded stepchild of theirs. You know what I'm saying? That always say something like, you know, witty and fun and a good time had by all. But then they also kick us out of the house once 10 o'clock comes along.
Sparking bastages.
I know, love it. Love it, love it, love it. All right. Biting lip. That's new. Maybe it's not new. It's just first time I've seen it. Okay. So jumping back to the idea of what we're watching with Tether. I agree kind of with that. But the thing is when one of the things we've talked about, one of the most underrated trades that we've talked about here in TradFi is the silver. We did talk about silver hitting all-time high this year, but then the continuation of that has been just epic. The pullback, this from hitting from 52 to 54, and then consolidating off of that 50 daily period moving average has been one of those ones that I'm sitting there going like, wow, like it now went from 52 all the way to 68 on the CME current contract. And that's a very big deal. It is one of the most underrated plays that I don't think TradFi really saw happening, or maybe they did and then they underplayed it because they themselves didn't want a crowded trade. Gold was extremely crowded because we saw countries, we saw Federal Reserves around the world, we saw huge corporate entities buying gold in hopes to hedge their currency, as we started seeing the US dollar plummet down into the areas that we talked about, hitting that 98 to 100 area, right? So watching things happen here, and also in relations to that, the slowdown in the economy because the slowdown of trade based off of the tariffs. But here's the part that I found so interesting is that, yes, we saw a slowdown in buying of US treasuries, but then at the same, US dollar slash, when you buy dollars, then you want to receive a yield on that. And so you receive yield by buying US treasuries, right? It's important to look at that relationship there. But in the back end, we're also watching silver literally going from all-time highs of, and this was back in October, right? We saw it hit all-time high 54. The pullback was to 46. Now I said I expected to see down a little bit further than that, but man, watching it just fly back up and create new all-time highs is one of those ones. I thought it would happen at the beginning of next year, right? But no, man, this thing, if you look at the yearly candle on this, it is like,
it's outrageous.
It's literally, it is outrageous. Like wow, like look at this. And so there is this play here that we talked about at the beginning of last year, even towards last summer, where, not this summer, but the previous summer, where I said there's a ratio that we potentially, if we see a 10-to-1 ratio or 5-to-1 ratio, we could see double digits on, or triple digits on silver. And it's looking like that is very much at play here. And so it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. Now, biggest thing is this. We're now starting to see jobs slow down. We've talked about how unemployment went up. But we're also now starting to watch construction jobs start to come in, even during this Christmas season. I mean, in December, we're watching, retail start to have a hard time here, as well as retail as in retail jobs, and because people are holding on to their pearls, don't want to put them out there, and so on that back end. We're now also, though, watching real construction jobs starting to come in. They're starting to see building, and so this is where, for me, I'm kind of getting excited with that aspect of, okay, if Trump's system can work, I've talked about that, like he's got a couple months now. I've said he's got a year and a half, he's got a year, he's got 6 months, he's got a few months. If we could see over the next, let's say in January, February, March, huge pushes of jobs for construction, right? We're watching now these buildings really start to fight. He's really taken off a lot of the red tape. So in many of these states, the only thing that's stopping it is really and it's interesting, many of those jobs are being pushed down into the southern states because they don't have a lot of red tape, whereas a lot of the northern states see that. And so I think that's going to push the northern states to really say, hey, we're losing these jobs, we're losing people. We need to deregulate our own building system and allow for real growth so we can take part in this economic boom, right? Because the glory of a state is how many people it holds, right? California is sooner or later going to have to stop their craziness because the people there are going to keep leaving because they're losing jobs. So it's going to be really interesting to see if this can actually take hold and push. So that's my view on it, especially looking at gold and silver. And and this is the other part I want to say is, are they expecting a crash here? And so are they running into silver for this reason, and as well as gold, right? So everybody wants to be in cash. So if we do see a crash, again, because I know I just talked about jobs coming in and everything like that, but you're first going to see it implode on itself first, and then a huge jump. And so they can mitigate that crash to a couple months, okay, and then see it just skyrocket. This is going to be that they've got to play this smart. The Trump administration has to play that smart. And listening to, I forget who the guy was. Try to pull him up here real quick so I can. Let me pull this up here real quick because I forget the guy's name. I don't want to.
Wow, I didn't realize that was on mute the past few minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, I just put a link on the screen here. If you are a Reddit contributor and have an account with Reddit, could you please click this link that I dropped in the thing? It's a post for our show, and I need some upvotes for it. We need some good karma in the. My account's good at Reddit. It's a good account, not a spam account. And so I've been finally allowed to post in the Bitcoin forum subreddit to post links. It took 3 years. But people are voting us down. I don't know why, but so, they're like, oh, it's a new guy. Let's vote him down. So I need your help. If you've got a Reddit account, go and click the link and upvote us. Please, please, please.
And plus, I'm not talking nice to him. So you know what, guys? Vote us down. I want you to vote us down. All you guys out there who don't like me or watching us. You know what? We don't need you anyways. Go love yourselves. Anyways, I don't even care, man.
And your family
down.
Members.
On
the maternal side.
It's a joke. I don't even care, man. I mean, I know that's important for you, but I'm just like, we'll build our own community. We don't need those jokers. But again, I do like their community because they do post some epic memes. Like I actually need to go in there and vote us up.
I did see a funny meme when you mentioned California. I thought about high taxes, and I saw a funny meme yesterday on Instagram where it showed a bunch of and it's not AI, it's dudes that actually dress up and make funny skits. They put on some like Revolutionary War type stuff, and they're like, "Oh my God, the British have taxed us 3 cents on our tea. We can't believe it. Call to arms!" And then it says,
yes.
modern American. Oh, look, I'm in California. I'm going to pay 45% tax on my income. Sounds like the right thing to do. Old days versus the 3 cents. Oh my God, that's it. I will go to the death for my tea.
Yeah, that was real.
Although the guy got it wrong. It was about the Stamp Act, not the tax itself.
Arthur Laffer, that's his name. Laffer. He was the economist for Reagan, and it was really interesting to hear his view on Trump, saying, when I worked with Reagan and his ability, trying to really deregulate a lot of what happened in the late 60s, early 70s, watching just the economy explode. And the fact that likability within Reagan versus Trump. Trump's a CEO. Like, he's very like, this is the way it is. But it was really interesting to hear him. And I thought this was really interesting. He goes, Reagan listened to me really well. Trump listens to me. He doesn't do exactly what I tell him to do. Whereas Reagan really did listen and did, And it was really interesting. And he goes, and I'm glad for that, because the truth is, and this is what he said. He goes, watching Trump take everything that I took and then also elaborate on it and make the correct moves versus if I had, he goes, he literally said, I can't believe that I advised Trump so wrong. And I'm glad he didn't listen to me because he actually thought it through as a CEO, as a business owner. And he goes, some of the moves that he's made was unorthodox, but now watching what's actually happening is really interesting. He goes, honestly, in the next 3 to 6 months, he said he expects to see the market and everything just explode like a bomb. And so it was really interesting to see that, him talk about that. And some of the things he pointed out in the interview was really interesting. So it's going to be one of those things that, again, Trump is his own man. He sees things from a business perspective as a CEO trying to run things. And again, should you run the economy as a business? Should you run it as a government, right? Like how is the civic as well as the governmental unit supposed to be ran? And I think it's kind of both. And we're watching that at play right now. And so it's a real interesting thing. I hope he's right. Because honestly, the free world is depending on it.
The free world is depending on it. You know who's also depending on it? Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, a bunch of other swing states that they're depending on this investment coming in and getting jobs and stuff. And the people going, hey, I did a good thing by supporting that particular guy over the other lady. And I'm going to do that again in this election. And the people he supports because they're bringing in jobs. I was reading an article, Pedro, about, we talked about it the other day about the power grid. And they're bringing clean coal back. And how I was like, all right, is it clean or is that a lobbyist term for clean? Here I besmirch the lobbyists, and Mrs. Striking is the lobbyist. But a lobbyist term for clean. And no, it's clean. They make them pay to scrub the air coming out of it and capture the gases and sequester it and all this type of stuff. And it's not all types of coal. You can't just say any coal work. It's just certain types. And that would be a massive boom for Southern Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, where all these coal seams are. And a lot of these places, Tennessee just elected a Democrat. I'm sorry. Florida just elected a Democrat leader of Miami, and in Tennessee or Kentucky, I'm sorry, I'm losing my election mentality here. They just elected a Democrat into a key position, and that happened in the governor's race of New Jersey. It happened in the governor's race of California. And so right now, while the financial numbers are going okay, people are looking at that jobs thing and they're like, yeah. So they need those jobs to come in. You mentioned this almost every show. And but I want to take what you said one step further and say, if that money starts to show in the supply chain in the US, like, yes, factories are being built. You know what? We're seeing construction of factories up 10%. We're seeing power grid use, not from Bitcoin and AI, but from factories starting to come up, which they can measure very accurately. You will see that market boom that Mr. Trump was talking about. Because as soon as Wall Street sees results of stuff and they see a plan, just like analyst calls. Analyst calls don't have to be great, but if there's a plan, like if the analyst said, hey, yeah, it's going to be a great second quarter. It's going to be a pretty tough third quarter because of X, Y, and Z. And the fourth quarter will be really tough. But first quarter next year, this. They can take bad news. And so can voters can take bad news. And so can Wall Street if it's explained to them. Say, yeah, it's going to be tough now, but watch. We have a plan and it's going to work. And if it does, the markets will go crazy. Just... And if it doesn't, there'll be a whole new cast of characters in Washington in a few years.
Yeah, exactly. And then things are going to be really painful. It's going to be so painful for us. For us
Space Cat.
And
oh, sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Pedro.
No, I was just saying things will be really bad for us crypto people if things do. All right, go. That was it.
Space Cat. He's speaking from a Canadian perspective, and I uniquely can see both the US and Canadian perspective, says if he's running it as a business, it's not working. I would disagree with that for the very reasons that Pedro just elucidated there a second ago about how Mr. Trump is evaluating things as a CEO and not as a politician. Trust me, he does a lot of politician type stuff. I'm the best, that guy was evil, all that. But things are turning around in the U.S. While we do have the jobs issue going along, that's a 2-year cycle to fix, and it relies a lot on this investment in the U.S. coming, and it relies a lot on teaching more vocational skills rather than sending everyone to college or university right away, which is I've always said is a mistake. here in the U.S., I mean, there's all these people in the U.S. that have Trump derangement syndrome, that just like, oh my God, it's so awful, this and that, and Epstein and blah, blah, whatever. They get distracted. They get distracted by business is going well. Government is printing money, but not as much as we thought. They're not just firing off trillions and trillions of dollars every second. It takes 90 days for them to do it. But from our point of view and from people in the trading world in the U.S., and especially Wall Street, it's going well. It's going well because there's and this is why. They got rid of all of, and you don't have to have an equity statement in every sentence and give free money to people that don't deserve it. There's a plan, there's a business plan, and there's a plan, and he's going step by step through it. Whether you like it or not doesn't matter. Or Canada likes it, doesn't matter. I disagree with on the adversarial tone he takes with Canada. When you look at the manufacturing and GDP map generation minus financial services, that's Toronto, the Midwest, Southwestern Quebec, all that type of stuff. That is the part of it in North America, and it should act as one unit. It shouldn't act as separate units. But obviously, Mr. Trump's not going to listen to Mr. Herlihy here. But I would hasten to say, haste, whatever the word is. I would say that things are going well. And I said this to Mrs. Striking the other day, especially after Mr. Trump's speech the other day. There was many years in which I was not a proud American. I was American, and I was like, yeah, well, we got to work on things. And now I'm a proud American, in which I'm like, F yeah, aircraft carriers, bald eagles and vaginas, everything is great. And we're getting to the goal of really killing it.
Bald eagle.
That's an oatmeal cartoon. Bald eagle. Have you ever seen the cartoon Oatmeal?
No, I have not.
Oh, I'll put it's fantastic. It compares the Brits being excited to Americans being excited, and the Brit being excited is I use that phrase. Oh, everybody, it's a jolly old day here, and I'm chuffed as nuts. And then it switches over to the American panel as being excited, and he's like, aircraft carriers, bald eagles, ah.
Yes. I want to see America do amazing. I do. Because my children's children, and those children's children depend literally on these next 4 years. It really does. And I disagree with the way he handles things from a, like you said, from a business standpoint mindset. But I've said this multiple times. He's trying to do the right things. He's from a standpoint of making the world, like, give America, right standing in their own nation, within their own country, saying, hey, give us balanced tariffs. Like, this isn't cool. We don't do that to you. You guys are juggernauts now. You guys are doing great, like China and many other places around the world. And look, we're not asking for major. We just want reciprocal tariffs. Like, it's not. So I agree with that. But the way he went about doing it by being kind of a dick, I think he could have been nicer. Could have
worked on the presentation a little bit.
Yeah, I do. And again, like, no matter what, nobody's gonna like having to pay more money. You talk to any person who rents, right? Saying, hey, I gotta raise the rent on you, right? Like, but you don't need to come in there and say to your tenants, hey, I'm gonna raise the rents.
With a baseball bat.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? If you don't like it. Right. So, and that's how it feels, right? He could have been much more, Reaganist. I hate to use the word, right? Like, it would have been like, or even, I would even say Bill Clintonish, right? Whereas, like, Clinton was great at being like, I'm going to punch you in the face and knee you in the groin.
And you're going to smile and take it.
You're going to take it. And I promise to you.
And then I'm going to balance the budget.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, like, it's, there's a way to do it. And so he definitely doesn't have that. But in the same sense, like, I was at the VA, and at the VA, I was talking with a guy who was not a supporter of Trump, and the other guy was. And like many of you guys know, I stand more in the middle. Like, I just want to see these things actually work. And to hear these two guys, both are Marines, both extremely strong-willed, both can kill you 20 ways from one, right? And at the same sense, you saw them literally both just wanted America to do well. It really came down. And I said, well, it sounds like both of you guys really, you have different ways of doing it, but you both want to see America do well. And it was interesting to sit there and watch it. And the guy who wasn't pro-Trump literally just said that. He goes, and this was the beautiful part. He goes, if that's the way we're going to do it, I just hope it works. And his whole entire thing was, I just don't see it working. Right. Because he's playing too much of a hard ass. And I sat there and I could be like, I agree. I can understand that. Right. So really interesting to see. One thing he did have to say is the fact that he's like, he would agree that Trump is really trying to keep America out of wars and trying to keep things kind of concise. Right. In the same sense, his biggest fear is that, we're pushing China a little too hard and pushing them at a way where it's going to cause him to really come hard at America, right? In the same sense, his whole entire thought process was that way around the world, right? Where we're really burning a lot of the bridges that we have built over the last 25, 30 years. And so the other guy was, well, even though we built those bridges, they're now pissing on us, telling us it's raining. An exact quote from that guy. And I thought it was like, he's kind of right, so.
Pedro, a couple of minutes ago, I put the call out for people to, if they have a Reddit account, to go click the link and boost our post for our show, give us some upvotes because it was getting some downvotes. And people came through. And one person even comments, they rock the mic and make things that are hard to understand and make them easy and keep them fun. I do like them, and they suck sometimes on the tech issues within the show, but in all, they give great TA and good news. I also like the banter. That is the most accurate review of our show I've ever seen.
Right? Especially the tech issue thing. Right. They're not shining our ass, but they kind of are. It's like, right. Especially like...
And it's one of those things that was AI perfect because it says, boosts up it provides commentary that's good, with constructive criticism. That's how the AIs love it. No, I didn't write that. No, it just affectionate let 465.
Well, affectionate. I hope you're well loved. Yeah.
Space Cat says, I clicked it. I did my thumbs up again. Thank you, Space Cat. I really appreciate the thumbs up for the Reddit community. I'm going to start posting there more and try and win over the hearts of the Bitcoin group there, just to get some, see if we can get some more viewers.
Why are we trying to get the cool guys to like us? Who cares about being cool guys?
They're not. I didn't say that there are any cool guys there. I said that there were just more eyeballs.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I'm like, I don't even care. Like, whatever, guys. Shoot, Mr. Cool Guy's over there.
Well, forever I was posting on Telegram. In Telegram, we get almost no links to our show anymore. Mostly because I don't spend any time on Telegram. I'm not in new groups that are hot and heavy with people. I post to the show. I post to a couple other places, which I get some usual suspects, but nothing with like 5,000 eyeballs on it. Like our post on Reddit's already had 2,500 views this morning.
You know what it was? It was more like all it was this. Stopped.
Yeah,
and that one stop was them just
right. View.
I'll take it. It's just like, but it's interesting, and I put this out here real quick. I feel like that's a little bit like what is actually happening with the crypto market right now, right? Let's talk about Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? I've talked about how Ethereum. I was expecting Ethereum this year as well as Bitcoin, in all honesty, and I was wrong in this, right? That I was expecting to see a rally of epic proportions up to that 250, 300,000 mark for BTC. And when it came down to Ethereum, we talked about Ethereum hitting that 10,000 mark, right? Regardless of whether you are I call them Bitcoin Nazi or a Ethereum Nazi. But the biggest keys to understand is that both are separate, both have their uses in crypto. And the reality is that I would feel as if they are being suppressed I do feel like they are being suppressed. That every time they start to push, that we see the shorts every time. And again, and I mentioned this, are the institutions going to allow BTC to really push hard? Are they going to allow Ethereum to really push really hard?
Hello?
Give me 1 second. Yes. And so like in that same sense, give me 1 second. So in that same sense, watching what's actually happening in the markets and what we're seeing in crypto, that correlation happening within TradFi of them going through with institutions and literally saying, hey, we're not going to allow this thing to really push hard. It's what frustrates me. That is my frustration, because they are taking the other side. And yes, that is what they're supposed to do. But from a fundamental level, crypto has always been one of those ones that stays ahead of inflation, stays ahead of the markets. And so it's like, now that the institutions are very much hand over hand, 10% is not going to cut it for crypto people. Then it's not 10 to 20% is not going to cut it for them.
No, they'll just put it back in the index fund and be done with it.
Yeah, that's exactly. And literally, and then you lose what is actually happening in crypto, which is these huge gains. So if you are an institution and you do hear me out, look, your biggest love, and I've talked about this, is the fact that you have liquidity within crypto. You have these Bitcoin maxis who will buy that, like Saylor says, I will always top off. But if you keep sticking it to the crypto natives institutions, they will buck the system and say, forget it, I'm done with it, and I won't be your liquidity anymore. And they'll go back, put that money into an index fund, and now it's for you. So if you want the big gains, you need to let it run. You need to let crypto natives have a 10, 20x. If you don't, your liquidity is going to dry up and they're just going to cash out and be done. And now you're left holding the bag. So think about that. Don't be stupid.
Well, that's the last thing you want, is the liquidity to dry up. I found an interesting thing going on with gold and Bitcoin. Someone posted on X, they're like, yeah, I bought a lot of Bitcoin at 90,000. Because all I did was read about institutions and countries and all that buying Bitcoin, and the price went down a lot. He said, I read the same thing was written about gold, with countries and organizations buying gold, but the price of gold's going through the roof, and like silver too. Quite the different market. People buy gold they're not looking for 10x on gold. People buy gold for stability as a hedge against the US dollar. To put on their balance sheet and be somewhat stable. People, like you just said, Pedro, you're exactly right. People are buying Bitcoin and largely in futures, leveraged futures positions, because they're looking for 10 to 10x their money.
Yes. And that is what's so important in relationship to how we're seeing everything. Give me 1 second, okay?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to take this quick opportunity to read it. I have only a few minutes left on the show here. I've got a 1:30 appointment that I've got to do here. Yep, are you back, Pedro?
Yep. Got to.
All right, I don't need to read an ad here. We've only got a few minutes left here.
What's love got to do with it? Got to do with it.
That was really bad.
Sorry.
What time is it anyway?
Okay. Next. Okay, so let's check out this here real quick, because I want to go over Ethereum here, and let's talk about some of these charts here that I'm expecting to see happen. Okay,
we've got 3 minutes, Pedro.
3 minutes. All right, let's see real quick. I was hoping we'd go over this stuff, just because we're not going to be on here for the next couple months, or not months, but next couple
months.
Next couple weeks.
Yeah, I'll be off for sure tomorrow and the day after Christmas.
Same. I'm headed down to Virginia. I'm gonna hang out with my family, and I might be there. I might just do appearance on my phone so we can hang out and talk. But no charts, just a bunch of cerveza and a bunch of good food. Just straight up. So it's gonna be fun. So check it out here real quick. Let's look at the yearly chart here. You can see here the yearly chart is almost setting up almost like a doji, which is really interesting. That is a sign of indecision. Now, here's the part that I find really interesting. The perfect system that I want to see is we bounce off the 8-period moving average. And more importantly, by bouncing off this, if we sit there, if it holds here, that low, like I've talked about, is that 32 and potentially down to that 2008 or 2086. So if we close here, expect it to first to maybe push up a little and then come down to these lower areas and then see it pick up. Again, I'm still bullish on Ethereum. I'm still bullish on Bitcoin of it going to that 250, still hitting that 10,000 to 12,000 mark area for Ethereum. So it's important to be paying attention to that. And then for BTC, let's check this out. BTC, similar situation here. We could see it, like we've talked about, these lower areas here, that 75,000, potentially a little bit lower, taking out all of those, the liquidity here below here, and then seeing it push back up where we could see a 250, 300,000 BTC in the next spot here. So that's about it for the yearly mark, what I'm looking at. The other part behind it as well is to be looking at the other end, whereas it potentially could sell off and we could see a drop in BTC and Ethereum as we move forward. But I just don't think that's going to happen. If we start to see that, if we start to see it go up at the beginning of the year, we'll talk about that. So that's in a nutshell, my friend.
All right, my friend. As we can see over there on the great graphics machine, the TradeWave app, everything's green, 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 except Tron, just down. I don't know how Tron always seems to move just a little bit opposite of the market. We didn't get to all the different cryptos today. We talked a lot about Bitcoin. That's what we wanted to talk about. It's the end of the year. When we come back next week, we'll talk more about the end of the year, what's shaping up for 2026. We'll recap all the great things and all the terrible things that happened, and I'll use AI to drum that up for you and keep you entertained. But
you're not entertained.
Ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you very much to everybody. Thank you everybody that helped us out on Reddit today. That made a difference there in keeping us, even after Space Cat voted us up, we got positive in the upvote. Someone came in and voted us down again. So I don't know what the deal is over there, but I'll figure it out. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, as always, my name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking, here in the digital media world. I want to wish all of our viewers a very special and Merry Christmas. Even if you are not a Christian and don't celebrate Christmas, I know most of the world is taking the time off because everyone else is. Half the world is taking the day off and a couple of days off. So enjoy your time with your family no matter who you celebrate. But remember, this time of the year is because of Christmas and the whole thing, the story that goes along with that. So think about that when you think of Santa Claus too. Think about the real reason that Christmas. Take care of your friends and your family this time too. Reach out to those people that are by themselves. They can use a phone call and a little check-in this week. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking. The man in the box next to me, Mr. Pedro Garcia. Merry Christmas to our loyal viewers. Thank you all for a great year. We'll be back next week.